I was delivering some training this morning from my good friend Terry Cook. If you don't know who Terry Cook is, I'll put some links down below. Instructor podcast, instructor performance and psychology platform, and we're talking about coaching in the driver training industry, which is something that I talk about a lot. I talk about it a lot because I believe it's the best way to train people to think for themselves, to create this kind of mindset in people that they can solve their own problems and learn things, etc. And as often comes up in these it's kind of like a podcast Q&A type session. Terry's asking me to, define coaching. What does coaching mean? What is coaching, etc., etc. It's like for many years now, there's been this kind of disconnect or this kind of aura around coaching that coaching or instruction, what's best? What's going to save more lives? Or coaching versus instruction, and are the driver instructors who don't know how to coach, are they terrible driver instructors? All this kind of thing. And then even more recently, I was attending an input workshop, which was organised by Chris Benstead and Ian Brett from the DITC. And that was attended by lots of driver coaches, people I've known for many years. Susie Cockayne, Ray Seagrave, Lee Jowett, a few more kind of people who have been in the industry for a long, long time, who have been believing in coaching for a long time. But something that became evident from that workshop, and especially the kind of the summary of events afterwards that was put out, that we have an issue apparently with the word coaching. We're not allowed to use the word coaching, or if I'm being a bit flippant there, at least that the word coaching, when we use it in conjunction with things like professional development and with the DVSA kind of use of coaching in the national standards, there are some challenges with the use of the word. I don't think we need to change the word coaching. Terry asked that today. I don't think we need to change the word coaching in driver training, because I think that's a bit pathetic. Without pretending that I'm not pretending that it doesn't present challenges. But I just want to know what are we supposed to do with this? I think it's worth a conversation about why does it cause so many problems? Why does the word cause so many problems? Is it really just because of the bad taste in everyone's mouths that Try Coaching left? Not just the breakup and the way that Try Coaching went about their business model. I'm on record as being grateful to Try Coaching for what I got from their products. It was Try Coaching opened the doors to coaching for me. I will forever be grateful to Susan and Graham for that. But there's no doubt about it. They were highly polarising business in terms of the way that they marketed themselves and the way that they delivered the message about coaching, as if you weren't coaching was the only way, was the way that message was delivered back in the kind of early 2010s, I want to say. So, it's an interesting time in the driver training industry. I talked a little bit on Terry Cook's event today, his IPP Summit, about Liz Box's article, which I will also put a link to here. She put an article out on LinkedIn recently about boosting. And a lot of the things she said about boosting, I was reading the article saying, this is what we're talking about. This is coaching, because some of the lines that Liz mentioned, I'd written some of these down, I've just got it here. She talked about the difference between steering people towards better choices, and this is in the context of behavioural science, the difference between steering people towards better choices and equipping people to make better choices themselves, which to me is coaching. That's what coaching does. Coaching equips, it should be about equipping people to make better choices themselves. Elizabeth also mentioned that behavioural science is becoming increasingly interested in building capacity. And again, when I work with people, anyone, one of the things that I'm trying to do is build their capacity to learn for themselves. I'm trying to build their capacity in terms of their belief in themselves, that they can achieve things, that they can grow, that they can develop. This is capacity. This is any good training, any good coaching that I've ever had in my life. I've left with a feeling that I am capable, that I have this capacity to do things. And she also talked about, well, she didn't talk about this specifically, but there was a kind of reference in the article to the difference between knowledge and skills, which there is definitely an undercurrent, or not an undercurrent, there's quite a prominent train of thought in our industry at the moment and within road safety circles and behavioural science circles and through academics, that knowledge and skills are not enough to stop people from making bad choices. And we know this from things like theory of planned behaviour. We know that behaviour is driven by emotions, it's driven by ideas of identity, it's driven by pressures. And doing work, what the article seemed to be suggesting that was that the more work that the behavioural science field is able to do in terms of helping people to work with their intentions, positive intentions, as opposed to things like fear-based consequence messaging, that's a good thing. And Liz actually went as far as to call this kind of approach potentially, she did call it an important evolution in behavioural science, which is great. It's fantastic. It's wonderful, because I'm a very, very, very enthusiastic amateur in terms of driver psychology and behavioural science. I think it has so much to give, not just driver training. I think it has so much to give society. Think of all the troubles we have in society at the moment with youth unemployment, poverty, health crises linked to obesity and lack of exercise, and then also road safety and young people, not just young people, all people making poor decisions on the road based on, as I said, emotional factors, pressures, whether that's peer pressure, out with friends, distracted driving, whether that's to do with driving for work. You're statistically far more likely to be involved in an accident or commit or break the law when it comes to driving if you're driving for work purposes. And I was reading the article and I was thinking, this is what the coaching community within driver training has been talking about. It's all the same. It's all the same thing, and it just seems like the academics are coming at it from a different angle. Why that is, I don't know. Because coaching is not scientific, possibly, because it's really difficult to find evidence, and there's this other. I hesitate to call it a trend because that makes it sound like I'm being flippant about it. I'm not, but there's this phrase, evidence-based. Everything has to be, if we're going to change anything in the way we do things, especially with people like the Department for Transport and DVSA, it has to be evidence-based. And I think that coaching is something that's very, very difficult for academics to quantify. And I've had this conversation with Sean Hellman, albeit very briefly, where he did some research years and years ago, and Sir John Whitmore was involved, and Sean's observations were around the fact that coaching could be effective, but only if you had very, very well-trained coaches and highly skilled coaches, which is a point of view, and it's one that I disagree with. Something else that came up in Terry's call today was, I think he asked me the question, what do we do about the people who are coaching but not doing it very well, or what explains that? And the answer to that is surely just that these people are on a journey. If people are engaging in coaching in their driving lessons, then they are trying, then they are interested, that means that they can see potential benefits. Are they going to be doing it perfectly all the time? No, because coaching is not like a driving test. It's not like a part 3. It's not something you achieve a level of coaching. You don't read a book and suddenly you're a coach. You have to learn about it. You have to engage with it. You have to, I guess you have to believe in it. You have to believe in people to be a coach. So this whole, I think it's tricky for academics to get a handle on. Anyway, tell me what you think in the comments, please. I am really interested. Even though I'm not a fan of the concept that we need to call it something different, I'm just interested to find out where people think coaching in the driver training industry is at the moment. What are we doing with it? What should we be doing with it going forward over the next 5 to 10 years? Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Helps get the message out. Thank you.